Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Q here, and this time around I am bringing you an RPG Maker MV video at the request of one of the YouTube users. He wanted me to explore the linear motion battle system for BXA, sorry, for MV, and see if it worked in a similar way to the one for VXA. I have not used the MV version, but going by the instructions, it does seem to work in a similar way. This is, by the way, the first time that I'm looking at this, so let's go ahead and look at the instructions here. We have that skills that will be used need to have tags. All right, and we've already downloaded the demo. We have it up and running. I'll put the link below. So apparently they need to have tags like ground, aerial, and free. These can be executed at the same time. So let's go ahead and see how that works out in the database. All right, we go ahead and look at skills, and yep, here we go. So here we have the tags referred to in the tutorial. Basically, if you want a skill to be used only on the ground, you go ahead and tag it as ground, skill type ground. If you want it to be used in the air, you tag it at skill type air, and if you want the abilities to be used anywhere and at the same time, you go ahead and type free. So, for example, the attack should be used, at the same time by any character. Wind slash, however, it's something that can only be used on the ground. So, if you wanted to, for example, change the wind slash to the air, you would just replace here the term ground for air, and that would be it. Sorry, aerial. Aerial. Is that how we have it on the script? Yep. All right. As far as the images, they are stored in LMBS. So let's go ahead and visit that folder. We have LMBS right here. And so you have the cursors that we're going to use for the battle system. We have a couple of bars and graphs, and this is where we store the battlers. It's pretty much the same structure as the VXA version, which I will link down below as well. Here we have some of the skills. Let's go ahead and look at the battlers for a second. This, I would assume, is one of the characters. So if we go here to the character actors, here we have, which one was that one? Athena, is it? No, it wasn't Athena. It was Chelsea. No, that's sorry, that's someone else. Here we have Chelsea. All right, so we have Chelsea, the character. We have the character performing an attack. We have the character performing an action, and so on. So if you want to create a new character, I'm going to go ahead and change the maximum to 6. We call this one, I don't know, Mort. And let's go ahead and give Mort a random face. This should do it. Let's make Mort a vehicle because why not? And let's give Mort no battler. Yeah, no, we don't need a battler. What we do need apparently is to tag Mort with some information here. So let's go ahead and look back at the tutorial, see what kind of information we would need. All right. And we have an example of what we're going to need, air dash, cast, damage, and so on and so forth. We already have sprites for characters that are made when we download the demo, so we can just copy paste them, then rename. And so we'll be doing that in a little bit once we are done with that. Here we have the framing system, basically use 150 pixel per square, and make sure that you don't have the character in the middle with a lot of white space in between. Some other kind of stuff. So let's just go ahead and create that new character, Mort. And what we want to do, just go ahead and click OK, minimize. We're going to take the Chelsea battlers and all that stuff. We're going to copy them up here so that you guys can see what we are doing. And I think they might have gone over to the other monitor, so let's go ahead and drag them over to this side. And here we have Chelsea, but instead of Chelsea, we want to call it Mort. Let's go ahead and say Mort for all of them. Mort. This is the tedious part, as it is whenever you're developing a game with multiple assets, and you need those assets to be consistent in their naming. You need to go back and create them. I don't want you to open up. I want to rename you Mort. And so far we are only changing the name, but we will open up our trusty paint.net, which you can get for free at getpaint.net, and I will link to that below. Mort. In order to edit these characters, and why the name Mort? I just recently read a book that maybe I'll post a book review of later. And one of the main characters called Mort. It's just the first name that came to mind. So let's continue here with Mort. And there. So now we go ahead and open up our trusty paint.net so that we can actually make the visuals of what Mort looks like. So we just go ahead and drag all of these into paint.net. Just going to open up each of them in a window of its own. Let's go ahead and have the tools over here. What we want to do is, create our trusty stick figure character. That's going to be who we use for the battle system. So here we're going to have Mort air dashing. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Delete. And let's see. Let's use the paintbrush. Let's use something a little bit wider. There we go. Mort air dashing. Kind of looks like this. All right. Here we have Mort guarding. So go ahead and make Mort gardening. And you probably have more of an artistic talent than I do. So you can go ahead and make actually cool looking sprites. For the purpose of this video, what we want to do is something simple. This is Mort casting. For the purpose of this video, we're just going to go with something simple. Here's Mort being hit. Ooh. Here we have Mort dashing, and since we actually have 4 frames in this one, what I'm going to do is open up a frame, because I don't want my character to, for example, go like this and scroll over to the next frame. So I'm just going to kind of like draw Mort on top of Chelsea, who we already have. And there we go. Now we have Mort. Let's go ahead and delete the background layer. That's what we're left with. Here we have Mort. I suppose this is Mort being dead. So let's just make a really big face with 2 X's. That looks terrible. X and X. Slightly better. Here we have Mort falling. So, this should be a different one from jumping, I suppose. So, Mort falling down. There we go. Spin it like this, and woo, there we go. And this one is Mort doing what? Mort doing nothing. So, Mort just kind of hanging out like that. We go ahead and get rid of the background, and we continue doing this with all the sprites. I'm going to go ahead and skip the video until we are done with all the sprites. And so now we're done with the sprites. We can go ahead and save all that work that we've done. So we click on save everything. Okay, okay, okay. And once we're done, instead of having those shall see sprites on our desktop, what we are going to have are the Mort sprites. And there we go. And of course we can't see them because my background's black and so on, but this is what Mort looks like, and that's what Mort is going to look like in battles. Let's go ahead and take Mort and throw him in there. And I have not made, by the way, a walking sprite for Mort, but that's fine. I'm sure that you can figure out how that works. So let's go back to the script and see what else we knew. We have the tags for the sprite file name. We have the tag for whether we're going to allow the sprite to move or not. So let's go over to the script over here. We have the database, right? So sprite name, Leon. So if we go to our images and to the battlers, we have Leon, all right? So you want to make sure that for Mort, in fact, let me just copy this whole thing. For Mort, we have Mort. And can Mort move? Yes. How fast is Mort going to be? It'll be as fast as Leon. How high can it jump? I would assume that if the number goes higher, yep. The higher the number, the higher you can jump. Double jump and dash are pretty much self-explanatory. Air jump, that kind of stuff. Guard rate for the percentage for the defense, etc., etc. Cast ID and numerical ID, animation ID. Okay, so this is what's going to happen here. The cast ID, it's going to link back to the animation ID in the database. So when we're casting a spell, what's going to play is we go to animations, we go to 126. Goodness me, here we go, cast. So 126 cast. And so when we cast a spell with Mort, that's what it's going to look like unless we change it over there in the tag. So let's just go ahead and put 122 tornado. And so whenever we cast a spell with Mort, we're going to have a tornado effect or whatever effect you might want to have if you have custom animations or anything like that. All right, so here we have Mort. And do we need something else? Let's go ahead and revisit the tutorial here. These are for skill types, but we'll look at these skills in a little bit. For now, what I want to do is go back to the database, set up in the system that we are going to start here with Mort, not with Leon. So if all goes well, then, we already have the little icon here changing. We're going to have a little chip walking around, and once we go into battle, we'll have our little stick figure man Mort. So let's go ahead and see how that shakes out. I'm going to go ahead and mute over here the RPG Maker. There we go. We have our little ship, and we go into the fight, and there we have our great and awesome Mort. Let's see, why do we have an error? Because of the Battle Hut Phase 6. Alright, so let's continue our exploration then. If we go to the Battle HUD, which is here, we got an error because we don't have a Phase 4 Mort. Why number 6? Well, likely because in our database, Mort is actor number 6. So let's go ahead and go over to the battle. By the way, these kinds of errors happen all the time when you have overlapping scripts, when you have 2, 3, 4, 5 scripts running at the same time, and in this one, It's not just about the linear motion, it's also about the battle HUD, it's also about all the skills and all that stuff. Skills are a script, the HUD is a script, the game system itself is another script, etc., etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete the inner part of this image, delete, and we're going to draw Mort in here. Something a little bit bigger than that, please. And we have Mort. And we are, of course, going to save as face 6. And let's go ahead and see if the script gives us any further errors. So, okay. And you guys saw how the little Mort figure actually loaded up. You saw the little character. It crashed when it needed to read the face. So now we have face 6, and let's see if it gives us any other errors. Here we have our player, Mort. 1, 2, double jump. Backward, forward. We have our weird attack. All right. Let's go ahead and use an item, see what happens. Use a portion on Mort. Yeah, so the effect, can we attack anyhow? Oh, there we go. Guard button. Guard to the other side. Can we attack? What's the attack button? No, I already know that it's not the attack button. Let's just go back. Oh, that's the attack button. All right. So as you can see, the attack looks pretty terrible. Is this the skills button? Oh, there we go. The air dash button. All right. And now that we know we can attack, even though it doesn't look like it very much, we know that we can double jump. We know that we can air dash and all that stuff. We can cast. Let's go ahead and look at our skills. All right. Does Mort have any skills? He's the hunter class. And what are the skills that a hunter can learn? Apparently he has a couple of them. So let's go ahead and what our tutorial says about skills. We need to define a skill as it can be done on the ground, on the air, or in either situation. We need to set if it's a projectile or what it is. Does it auto-target? How much damage it's going to do, post duration. These terms are pretty self-explanatory to me. Projectile name, file ID, etc., etc. So to create a new, here we go, area. This defines the area of impact. That one, you just define the length. Using X and Y, projectile motion, it's just going to move from X to Y, from Y to X. If you want a skill that heats multiple times, you go ahead and click repeat. So it's pretty much the same thing as the MV system. Now let's go ahead and see how we can actually cast some skills. What is the skill button? D, which I never pressed. Alright. And let's see, how do we... Alright. So really all we needed was to figure out how to cast those skills. So let's go ahead and run the game again. New game. And let's see if we've actually set up any skills for Mort. Alright, we do have them here. We have some magic and whatever, but that doesn't really matter. Equip skill, here we go. And that's why we cannot cast any of them. So let's just go ahead and add ice arrow, fire arrow, and ice arrow, and I'm not really sure. Oh, there we go. That's why we can't use cure. Let's just, actually let's put cure with down. There we go. So now that we have equipped our skills, we should be able to see our little cartoon man here. Shoot up. There we go. Our Mort. Doing skills. Bring forward. Pressing down. We have our healing ability. Snapped it on. Oh, because it's this one. Alright. And there you have it. That is the Tales of Linear Motion Battle System for RPG Maker VXA. It works for RPG Maker MV. It works pretty much in the same way as VXA. And if you have any questions, do let me know and I'll be happy to do a follow-up or just reply on the comments. If there's any other system that you'd like for me to explore and kind of go over, or just do a full tutorial, let me know and I'll be happy to do that for you. So have a nice weekend and I will see you next time. Actually, no, there's one thing that I forgot to mention. That is when we go to the plugins manager, which is now what we do with scripts in MV, you will see a list of all the scripts that are included in the demo, which again is linked below. The ones that we want to look at are the LMBS, Linear Motion Battle System, and the Enemy HP. So once we edit them, we can just configure these things very easily, duration, font size, and all that kind of stuff. And then for the Linear Motion Battle System, it's a little bit more complex, just because it has more options. But the system itself is pretty self-explanatory. How long is the turn going to last? Meaning, when you cast a skill, essentially it focuses on the cooldown time, gravity power, ground height, and how high or how low it's going to be. The ground menu key, guard key, and so on. All these things have to do with the key definition. What the players can do when they input commands and all that kind of stuff. Guard animation ID, that has to do with the database. Double jump animation, that has to do with the database. So you go to the database animation section and you look for these numbers. If you don't like those, then you can just plug in your own. Normal attack rate has to do with how often you can attack, etc., etc. All right. So if you have any questions now, this time for real, let me know. And if not, then I will see you next time.